Thanks for listening to the On the Way podcast. Whether you're on the way to school to drop off your toddler or raising a teenager, we're all on the way trying to be better parents. Now let's jump into today's episode.
Hey everyone, welcome to On the Way. This is a podcast that exists to help parents disciple their kids, not perfectly, but faithfully. And I'm excited for today's episode because I have one of my heroes in the building, my father, Luis Mion, which just saying your full name makes me feel bad. Like you can't, like calling your parent by their first name is, in a Hispanic household, is a chancleta gets flown, or you get the bell, or it's just awkward. But you are in the building, and I'm so happy you're here, Pop. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording. The reason why I wanted to have this conversation with my dad was, obviously, I think you're the best dad ever, and someone that I love.
You're biased.
Someone that no, listen. I'm not biased, and I've seen it all. And I'm just grateful that we have a conversation where, I think about young fathers. I think about just fathers in general that will watch this, and being able to learn from you, as I've learned from you, I think is a treat and will be a treat. And so just thank you for doing this. I know it was a crazy day just getting here with the kids and all that stuff, but thanks for doing this, Pop, and excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I guess because of the craziness, I got to see Eden and Jude, so that's always that's a win any day.
We had here in Miami, just getting anywhere, whether it's a mile or 5 miles, is always a journey, and so I had to pick up the kids. Long story short, there's a lot of driving, a lot of craziness, a lot of swapping of who's picking up the kids, all this stuff to get here. But I'm just glad to be in the studio with you and have this conversation. And I want to just start off, again, I want this conversation just to kind of flow as a journey and kind of hit on certain things. But for people that don't know you or aren't familiar with you, because obviously most of our church from Calvary watches this, but there's people from YouTube to Spotify that don't live in Miami, that are live in other countries that watch this, just to get to know you. And so if you can just, in 2 to 3 minutes, give people a little bit of background, what you do for a living, where you were born, where you grew up, and a little bit of your backstory.
Okay, so born in Havana, Cuba, came to the United States when I was 6 years old. Lived in Chicago for 10 years and been living here in Miami since 1976, a long time ago. So
that's why if you ever see me with a Bears hat or a Cubs hat on the podcast, it's because of my dad.
Yeah. Brainwashed
us, yep.
Brainwashed both Philip and Lauren.
Yeah, I literally watched the TV. I'm in Miami. I'm watching the Chicago Bears or the Cubs or the Bulls, and to me, this is the Miami team. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I grew up realizing that I was
and that won't change.
It won't change.
It won't change.
Not that Miami Dolphins are much better to root for, but sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
So Cuba to Chicago.
Yeah.
And then Miami.
Yep.
And so, what do you do now for a living?
I've been a commercial banker for about 40 years. I actually started my career right out of college and a long time ago in 1983. I had graduated with a psychology degree, but really didn't have an idea. I had an idea what I wanted to do. My plan was to be a counselor in a high school and coach football. Mm-hmm. But my dad asked me, so
to be a banker.
now that you graduated, what do you plan to do? And I said, well, I need some time to figure it out.
Yeah.
And he said, well, while you're figuring it out, come work.
Yeah.
And start earning some money, and been a banker ever since then.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, Pop, just talking about fatherhood, talking about just being a dad and the things that come with that for you, with your life from Cuba to Chicago and Miami. When was it, and what was it that made you want to be a dad? Like when was the moment where you're like, man, I think I'm ready to do this? And then what was it like that inspired you? Like, did you always want to be a dad when you were younger? Was it, with Abuelo? Was it just watching him? Like, where was that desire where I think, I want to be a dad, or I definitely want this to be something I do?
Yeah, I don't know when I got the desire, or if it's something that I've always, had in my mind. Yep. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's when I was in my early 20s, I said, okay, I want to be a father. I want to be a father. Mm-hmm. I think that it was the next step.
Yeah.
And your mom and I knew that we wanted to have kids. So when we thought it was the right time. Yeah, we thought it was the right time. So, and I was, I guess I was 29 years old when.
29.
Yeah, when your mom was pregnant. So.
Did you feel ready?
Yeah, I think I did, but, obviously every parent that has ever felt ready has quickly realized how ready you are not.
Yeah.
It's having a child is just mind-boggling, Yeah. So you can never prepare for it.
Yeah. We talked about this when in an episode with our campus pastors, Pastor Vlad and Raquel, because a lot of like young couples, one of the main reasons they don't want to have kids is they don't feel ready, or it's like I think about the world that they would grow up in. What would you say to that? Because I know you spoke it to a little bit, but like. Maybe there's a young couple and they're in the same position. They're 28, 29, maybe even their 30s, and maybe they're holding off because they don't feel ready. Like, what was it, maybe from your personal experience, that you would maybe encourage them, like, hey, just go for it?
I would say that you're never going to be completely ready. I think that as long as there's humility and grace, I think that is enough for you to be ready.
Yeah.
Not knowing what the road ahead lies, but what it looks like. But I think that if you wait to be ready, I don't think you'll ever be ready.
Yeah.
It's kind of like marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you think if you wait for the perfect time, it may not ever happen.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
And as far as speaking into bringing kids into the world today, those are thoughts in my case I never had. I never said, "Oh man, the world is terrible."
For sure.
And every generation, terrible looks different, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can argue that today is a very difficult time with everything.
Yeah, social media doesn't help.
Yeah, social media,
or just access to
I'm
everything.
thankful actually that I didn't have social media when I was growing up.
Yeah,
I really am. So I think it's something that was originally made to do good, to keep people together, but I think the opposite has happened.
Yeah, I like to think that as a Christian, when the world looks the darkest, having a child and raising them up in the ways of Jesus is the most efficient way to bring a light into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what I try to tell young couples, or like, yes, I get. I mean, that's a genuine fear I have. In stuff we've spoken about, where it's like, I don't know what the world's going to look like when Eden and Jude are adults, but I know that my prayer is that I'm going to do my best, me and Danny, and with our grandparents' help, like with your help, that when it gets darker, or if it gets darker, that they'll be ready for it because of what they learned in the house, what they learned at church, what they learned from their parents, what they learned from their grandparents. And so, I'm with you on that. And
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that definitely, the social media aspect, and it was something that I didn't have to worry about you and Lauren growing up. I think, the biggest issues with you were starting the house on fire, but that was about it. You played video games, you played sports, you did do some crazy things.
Yeah, I tried to light a Axe bottle on fire.
Yeah, near the house
because someone told me that you couldn't.
Yeah,
or that you could, and so I was like, let me see for myself, and then have the side of the house got on fire.
Yeah,
you can indeed blow up an Axe bottle.
Yeah.
It was for the.
We were fortunate.
It was in the name of science.
Yeah,
but I'm with you on that. And so, speaking of, obviously, social media not being a thing in your time and not being a main worry, what were some of the things you were afraid of? Like any fears, worries?
Yeah, I think normal fears, just your kids' health, primary, schools, dealing with homework. That was always a challenge.
I'm not looking forward to when Eden has to come up to me and like help me with fractions. It's like,
Yeah, me neither.
You're gonna fail.
Yeah, don't send her my way either.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah. It's like I am so bad at math, and I literally I think about doing 5th grade math or 4th grade math, and it's like my kids are gonna fail.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I've forgotten everything I've learned at school. Literally,
Same.
Other than maybe some history stuff because I love history.
Yeah.
Math and English and writing.
Just formal.
Yeah,
English.
I can write, but that's about it.
No, I'm dreading those
Science
days.
projects we can help with though.
The science projects were the ones that you like do the board. I don't even know they even do that. I don't even know what school. I don't even know after school
either,
now.
But we can recycle some of the ones we did.
My kids when Eden and Jude do sports, that's when I'll really thrive.
Yeah.
Education's not that important. It's a joke. Well, Paul, let's talk about the early years because what is interesting with parents and speaking to parents that have adult kids and have been through different seasons that a lot of parents are going through right now. For you, I'm curious to know what mattered a lot in the moment that you look back and you go, I wish I wouldn't have wasted that much time on that, or I regret making this a bigger deal. Like what mattered back then that doesn't matter now to you?
Yeah. Wow, nothing comes to mind.
Or what you wish, what you wished you worried about less. Like, I feel like this was a big deal, or this is a big worry. And
I think as a parent, your worries never stop. I can tell you that. I can tell you from what my mom tells me when I tell her not to worry. I think it's just that's what parents do. And it's not worry to the extent where it's a sin, right? But you're concerned. You're concerned about your kids' health, your kids' future, your kids' school, just general things, But I think as a parent, you never stop worrying about it. You never stop caring. You always want to know that your kids are doing well, regardless of how old they are. And in your case, I want to know that not only you and Danny, but also Eden and Jude, that throws another layer, another dynamic into it. So it's not just worrying about you; it's worrying about them too.
What are some of the most fondest memories about raising kids? Where you look at those moments, and you're like, I guess the biggest thing is one of the things I'm always curious about, and maybe people watching this is being in the moment. So many times when the kid, Eden's so little, my daughter's 4, Eden, and my son is going to be 2 in August. And the biggest thing for me is being in the moment. And that's why I asked the question, what mattered, what did you feel like mattered in that moment that you look back didn't matter? It's like, how do you stay in the moment? What are some things that you remember that were I wish I could have made this a priority or been in this moment a little bit longer and not focus so much on X, Y, and Z? Because that's my biggest struggle where it's I'm, maybe for me it's disciplining Eden. And I feel like I have, or I'm worried about her food.
Yeah.
And it's oh, she's not eating this, or she's not eating this. And it's I feel like I'm stressed out about it. And then a part of me is man, I feel like in 5 years, I'm going to look back and be like, why did I stress so much about that?
Yeah, and that's probably true.
Yeah, that's what I feel. I feel that.
I guess because of the divorce, I think the most important thing for me was being present and being able to be at almost everything I could related to you and to Lauren. I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that I was going to be there, So that was my main focus, to be, whether it was football practice or cheerleading or a play or whatever it was in school. I that was my focus, to be there, and not just be there physically, to be there, to be present, for you guys in those moments. Whenever there was a milestone, something important in your life, it was I felt that I need to be there, and then I'm glad, So every time I could.
You brought up the divorce, and I don't know if you want to talk about that or not. We can move on, but I'm just curious.
Depends what you're gonna ask.
Yeah, depends on what I'm gonna ask. So let me get down to because I think there's a different style of parenting. There's a different view of parenting. Parenting becomes a whole new thing when there is a divorce. And I'll just say, again, just to give context, like my mom and my dad, when they were divorced, it was obviously hard, but the way you guys raised us in the midst of that, I'm blessed. I'm thankful. Obviously, it couldn't have been done without Jesus. And so there was a factor that though it was something that we wish didn't happen, I'm blessed that I had parents that didn't make it worse, that didn't, didn't hate each other, that was my experience growing up. But obviously, because of the divorce, there's, now you have kind of like different parenting styles when it comes to, staying over here with your dad, and he has separate rules, and then your mom has separate rules. And so what was that like for you? 'Cause I know how it was like for me, but just kind of giving people that understanding that maybe are going through that. Yeah. Some things that maybe you wanted to do, like, okay, this is happening. We're getting divorced, but I still am a dad, and I'm still, I'm still have to work with somebody that is the mother to my kids. And so that dynamic.
Yeah, I think in regards to that, I think that your mom and I did a good job on agreeing what we needed to have common ground on, regarding you two. Yeah. Regarding you two. So, the rules at my house, for the most part, were very close to the rules at her house,
They were.
So we wanted to make sure that you guys couldn't pit us against each other, or think that you were one was favoring you over the other. So we were pretty clear on that,
Yeah, and we never felt that. And it was funny because we were supposed to stay at your house every other week, and just the way that you are and the way that mom is, it was like, if I was like, hey, I want to stay at mom's more, or a weekend that I was supposed to be with you, and there was no arguing, there's no bickering, there was just always openness. And I just, I know Lauren probably feels the same, where it's like, I'm just blessed because it didn't make, difficult situation even more difficult. And I think just being able to go to my mom's house and like, hey, the rules are still the same rules, and you guys being on the same page, it still gave us cohesiveness. Yeah. And it was awesome. And I'm just blessed. And one of the things that I think about now is when it comes to just having kids is though there was different homes, discipline was the same when it came to like, there were certain things that weren't going to be allowed, and there's certain things that are going to be tolerated. And it's funny, I don't know if this happens to everybody, but when your parents become grandparents, the way they discipline becomes very different. Meaning, you used to get...
There are no rules.
You used to get beaten and tortured, and then if I talk back to my mom, there was a judo chop in my neck waiting to happen. If my daughter Eden talks back, there's nothing. It's just, hey, you shouldn't say that. Don't do that. And it's like, okay, hold on. We need to talk about this, because another example of how grandparents change is, I remember being at my house. It was a Sunday, and in our context at Calvary, our church here in Miami, we have 4 services. It's a long day, and this was football season. And so the one thing I want to do is go home and just watch football. And so I'm at my house. I changed into some comfy clothes. I'm sitting down, and I'm watching football. It is awesome. And my dad's over with my stepmom, Miss Ladies, who's awesome, and my stepsister, Melanie, and we're hanging out. And I'm watching TV, and all of a sudden, I see Coco Melon on the TV. And I was like, who put Coco Melon on the TV? And then I see my dad with a remote going, Eden wants to watch Coco Melon. And I was like, wait.
It wasn't a very good game
one,
anyways.
This is my house. 2, this is my TV. And 3, my child. And so I just love that dynamic.
The Bears
it's fun.
weren't playing.
Yeah, the Bears weren't even playing. And if they were playing, they were probably losing. But either way, on the subject of discipline, and that's another story for another time, but what were some things that, what are your thoughts on discipline when it comes to your kids, whether it's when they're young, when they're teenagers? Yeah. What was your thought process on discipline and the importance of it?
Yeah, it's important.
And why have you forgotten to do that with your grandkids? Anyways, but
the different rules, different rules.
Yeah.
But discipline is, it's important. It's important at every level. It's not, when they're little, when they're teenagers, when they're young adults. If they're, especially if they're living with you, right? Then they have to honor you. They have to honor your house. They have to honor the rules, the boundaries that you set. So it's not fun. And that now as a parent, that disciplining your child is not fun. It's not fun, and I made mistakes, and I do have regrets, But I think that in those moments where I might have been a little bit too hard on you or on Lauren, I think that, and this is what I would say to any parent, I was quick to say I'm sorry.
Yes.
And I think that's where the humility and grace comes in, because sometimes, not sometimes, as parents, like we said before, you're not always ready. There's no handbook that comes. You make mistakes in disciplining. You make mistakes in rewarding, because you've never been through that before. You're learning as you go along, So I think that. Again, discipline is needed. It's important. You can't raise a child properly without discipline.
Yep.
Without proper discipline, without setting boundaries. But at the same time, when you do go overboard and when you do make a mistake in the discipline, I think that it's important that you immediately or soon you recognize it and go to them and apologize and say, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So I'm not perfect, right? So and kids are great. They're resilient, and, that's the beautiful thing, that kids forgive you quickly. So.
Yeah, I would say that's one of the most tangible things that I remember you doing that I've done with Eden. Is the saying I'm sorry and the power behind that. And we've talked about it in an episode on discipline, where it's like what that does is, and what I saw through you is humility, and it's almost like the humility that Jesus expects out of us, where it's like even your parents, like seeing somebody like your dad or your mom who you hold to such a high esteem, get to your level and go, hey, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes too. There's power in that, and I think that is something that's become a lost art. And I think one of the things even Eden being, she's going to turn 4 here in a little bit, in a couple days. I've seen the power in that. Even at the age she's at, she's very aware of the things that we do. She's a little sponge, and she's very smart. Yeah. And so, just recently, again, one of the rules that we're trying to have in our house is that nobody raises their voice. That's not going to be a house that everybody's yelling at each other, screaming at each other. But there was a time where she was just not listening, and I had raised my voice to her, and she started crying, and obviously she was scared and she was disappointed, and she felt like she let her dad down. And so it was before bath time. We took her bath, all that stuff, and before bed, I told her I'm sorry, and she gave me a hug, and she told me she loved me, and it was just like a beautiful, beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And it's just like I don't want to ever feel like I'm bigger than that, right? Like you don't want to, and I think that's something both you and Mom did, and I know like specifically with you, like whenever my mom would lay down the law at the house, I always knew that my dad would come by the bedside and go, "Hey, do you know why Mom had to do that? We love you. We're sorry." And it's just, I even to this day, I'm 35 years old, which is crazy to say that out loud. It was just something where I remembered. And so I think that's awesome when it comes to discipline, is a practical thing to be like, okay, discipline is important. Doesn't mean you have to like it, right? Yeah. Like I'm sure you didn't like it at times, but you had to create those boundaries. You had to make sure that there wasn't any lawlessness happening in the house. But going, okay, if I go overboard or I make a mistake, I want to lead an example and lead by the way of going, I'm going to say sorry. I'm going to let them know that it's okay not to have it all together and not to hide that. And so I think that is key when it comes to disciplining, where we lost that kind of art.
Yeah, well, disciplining is I don't think it's anything that it's something that any parent likes to do.
Yeah.
But it's our responsibility.
Right.
It's a huge responsibility, and there's no way around it. There has to be discipline. Yeah.
Would you, looking at like growing up and looking back at being a dad, was there anything you would do differently? Any regrets? Anything you wish you were like, man, I could have done this or that? Anything you had done differently?
I think if I would have had time, if you would have given me a heads up about this question, I think there would probably be a laundry list.
You got to be on the spot.
Laundry list of things.
I'm sure.
There's regrets, of course.
Yeah.
I may not be able to think of them, but they're just, you're learning on the fly, so.
Yeah.
I know I made a ton of mistakes with you and with Lauren,
How'd you handle it? Like, maybe you can't think of an example, but you're like, man, I remember when I would fail or when I felt like I wasn't enough or I felt like I made a mistake. What was like a thing that helped you handle that? What was like a practice, something where like, okay.
Like, I think just knowing you got another opportunity, right? It's not it. It's not the end of the world, the end of the, it's a mistake, and that you can correct it. So, and it's part of the learning process as you parent a child. I can tell you that I learned from my parents, one of the things that, and I love my parents, and I never felt unloved at all, but they were not very affectionate. They were not very affectionate. Yeah. One thing, I don't remember my parents telling me that they loved me, but I never felt unloved at all, at all. But I knew in my mind, and I don't know at what point, this was before I became a father, I knew that as a parent, I was going to let my kids know every day that I loved them.
Yep.
And that was important to me. So, again, my parents are awesome. I had a great childhood, a great life with my parents, but they weren't affectionate. So it was something that I knew I wanted to do different from them. So
yeah. And what did leading spiritually look like for you? And I guess it could be like a two-parter. Like, what was something you were like, okay, I want to lead my home spiritually. I want to lead my kids spiritually. What are some things that you wanted to make a priority? And then through the process of all that, how did God change you as a father? Or how did that process look like, becoming a dad, putting God at the forefront? How did it change you personally as you were trying to instill that into us?
Yeah, well, when I accepted Jesus Christ actually because of you and Lauren. At around 44 years old, you guys invited me to Calvary. Before that, I knew I had a head knowledge of Jesus. I had a foundation. I was raised Catholic, so I believed in God. But it was one of those things where on Sunday, when I left the church left me. Yeah. So once I gave my life to Christ and he started to change me, I realized everything that the responsibilities that I had not accepted, that the role as a man in the house, basically the pastor of my house. So, that made the way I thought, the way I treated you guys, when you would come over with me, when I was around you, just how my behavior needed to be. Even now I can tell you, like I said, I gave my life to Christ almost at 44. I'll be 65 in May, so almost 20 years. I'm still growing, and I'm still learning, and God is so good though that He's given me another opportunity, right, to be the pastor now with Miss Ladies and Manuel and Michael and Melanie. That's a beautiful thing. I mean, that's how gracious God is and how good He is and how He never stops giving, right, and He never stops giving us opportunities. I will say this though: had I had a relationship with Jesus sooner, possibly a lot of the mistakes I made with you and Lauren would have been avoided, So, and just mistakes in life overall, just that I could have avoided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the cool things though is what I love is the example that you are, where we did this last year, and life is busy and everybody's got a million things, but my dad was like very adamant of having a family devotional. So literally, we would go to his apartment. My sister would sing, and then we would just open up scripture and just have conversation. And it's like, I love that, because one of the best things that I've learned from you, Pop, is just the example that you are. And so like, hey, family's important and everybody's busy, but let's whether it's once a month, let's make sure that we're in the Word together as a family, because we all have church. We all have our own personal relationship with Jesus, but like, hey, as a family, let's discuss scripture. Let's pray. That is huge. And that's something that you've instilled, like a fire in all of us to do. Like, I want to make sure that when my kids get older, when Eden and Jude are older, like that's something we are doing early, like, hey, we're going to get around the table, no phones, no nothing. And we're going to break down scripture together. We're going to worship together. And that's always been who you are. And I think that's the beautiful thing about fatherhood is being in it now. Is the most powerful thing that you can do is just realize that you're an example, and that everything you do is being watched, and everything that you do is being seen. And so all the stuff that you did, I saw it, and I want to replicate. It. Even when it comes to, like, another example is football. So you play Division III football at Beloit. It's a school in Wisconsin. I played Division II football at Harding University. It's in Arkansas. And my dad, every single summer workout. So it's off season. We would go back home. All the players would go back home, and you have to do a summer workout. And then when you go back to the school, you'd have a conditioning test. My dad worked out with me every single day. So what I mean is, he wasn't there at the gym just encouraging me. No, he was doing the lift, even the runs. I remember we would do these track runs at Tropical Park, our park here in Miami, and it was like a lot of running, and he was doing it too. And it was like, since the very beginning, since I've been little, even to college, even to now, he's always led by example. And so I just think, Pop, like you have been such a great example, a great vision of the dad I want to be. And so I just love that. And so I think, like, why did that become so important to you? Like, why, what was it that was like, I just got to make sure that I every action, everything I say matters. What was that driving force? What was that innate, what was that desire? Where did that come from? Because you did it incredibly.
Yeah.
You did it incredibly.
I think it just came from, again, just wanted to be present in your life. And, and we have, thankfully you and I have that in common, the sports, football in particular, specifically, that we both love the sport. And so it was just another opportunity for me to be a father to you and to do what I could to help you succeed and be involved, So, with Lauren, Lauren was in cheerleading, so I couldn't help her too much.
You didn't want to cheer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Practice routines?
No.
Do
I
cartwheels?
don't know if I ever did. No, I don't think we did that.
She did play soccer.
She did play
and
soccer.
flag football.
Yeah, and we trained probably a little bit there too. So, but yeah, with you, it was a natural fit for both of us, and it just gave me another opportunity to pour into your life and to be part of it. It was awesome. So,
can you talk about
I missed that, actually.
Yeah, same.
I missed that.
I know. I don't miss running.
Yeah, I know you don't.
I literally, the moment I stopped playing football, I was like, I'm never going to run an organized sprint ever again. If I was to run right now in this very moment, I would pull both my hamstrings.
Yeah.
I
didn't like running sprints either.
Yeah.
So.
Well, can you, actually, that's interesting. Can you talk about the importance of sports? I think, and not putting kids in sports with this expectation that they're going to go to the, to the pro level or anything like that. But what sports does as a parent, and then just the community brings to the kids, like why are sports needed, and why should everybody at least be active in some sort of way?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I think that kids, I know I'm going to sound old, but kids today need physical activity.
These kids today.
They need, I'm sure every generation said something similar. But I think sports is it's something that it aligns with life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's so much in sports that you can learn from. You know, cliches, right? You get knocked down, getting back up. You know, learning to
lose,
overcome adversity, learning to lose, not liking it, not accepting it.
Yep.
But learning how to deal with it and learning to learn from losing. Right? What can you do to get better and to take the next step, get closer to the win? You know, it's sports to me is. I mean, I've enjoyed it. I've been playing. I played since I was a young child.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't start as young as you did, but
I started. It was 8.
Like 10. Well, you started baseball, t-ball, and stuff like that. Which is, I don't know if that's a sport or not, but
it's an excuse to get the kids out to run.
For chasing butterflies and digging holes and but yeah, I think it's important. I think that kids benefit from it, from the discipline, from the hard work, from learning to communicate with other people. You know, from your teammates to learning to work with other people. I think there's a huge advantage in that. And from taking criticisms, right? Because everybody's going to have a boss, and at that level, your coach is your boss, kind of. So you have to learn to listen, you have to learn to follow instructions, you have to sacrifice. And in sports, there's a lot of sacrifice, and in a team sport, you cannot be selfish.
Yep.
So there's a lot of life lessons in sports.
I think that's the biggest thing that I see today is that what sports does, or any kind of team activity, is the life lessons that I remember once I graduated college, where it's like, okay, I'm not in the field anymore. So all the things I learned playing football, you know, I've been told they apply in life, and now I get to test it out. And it's true. There is a moment where you're like, okay, I know what it's like to face adversity. I know what it's like to lose. I know what it's like to get better at my craft or my skills. And so you apply it to anything, whether it's teaching, whether it's banking, whether it's you name it. And I think that's so important for kids. And I think sports does a great job of, or any hobby does a great job of segueing into parenting, where it's like when you have a child and they lost. They're so used to winning, but they lost a football game, they lost a basketball game, or they didn't do that great on the Taekwondo test, or they're painting that they painted, or they're struggling to learn the guitar. It gives you that moment where like, okay, I can step in and be that voice of reason, or I can encourage, I can disciple. And so what, like, do you have any moments like that? Do you remember anything that you could think of that like something that translated or that happened on the field or happened in a classroom that you're like, oh, I can step in and help, and the fruit of that?
Well, I can tell you just before I answered that particular question, that one thing that remedied a loss or was ice cream and pizza.
yeah. It's like, I don't care what happened. I don't care the game.
After some ice cream and pizza,
grill,
nobody remember the score or what, if they won or lost. So, yeah. What was the question again, Philly?
The question was, in sports or whatever we did, whenever we there was a moment of defeat or a disappointment, what was it like to step into those moments and encourage? What was it like to be in those moments and feel like, man, I don't know if I'm going to say the right thing?
Yeah.
Like, how did you step into those moments?
I remember one particular with you, and I don't know if you're going to remember this. It was at Killian, and you had a defensive backfield coach that was not the nicest guy.
He was not the nicest guy.
And you thought that he was racist.
Yeah.
And you might have been right, you know. You might have been right, but I didn't let you focus on that.
Just context. I went to a majority black high school, and I was, one of the only white Hispanics on the team. And I just felt like this guy always had it out for me. I said, yes, sir. I listened. And I just felt like it was always, I could do nothing right. And so I just went to my dad. I was like, hey, I just feel like this guy doesn't like me because this doesn't happen with anybody else.
Yeah. And I think what, my focus there was not to let you focus or dwell on that, whether he was racist or not. I told him that if you make plays, he's going to have to play you. Yeah. You can't focus on that thought process. Yeah. So,
yeah, and I remember that. Yeah, because there's moments where he's like, man, I didn't want to play football at that time. Yeah, and it's just awesome, as a child, to know that when you're going through those things, because of the parents that you don't have to keep that in, and you can be like, hey, Pop, I'm feeling this, and I think that's the biggest thing that I loved with you and Mom, where like we felt safe to like, hey, I'm going through this, or I did this. Obviously, kids don't say everything, but I felt like for the most part, I was pretty open. And when it came to seeking advice, when it came to, and I want to do that with Eden and Jude. And I learned that from you and Mom, where it's like, I want to be a parent that no matter what happens, no matter what they do, no matter what is said or done, that whether they feel shame, disappointment, that the door is always open, that they know they can talk to Dad. And yes, there may be disappointment, they may be upset, but there's safety. And there's like, I can talk to my mom and dad, and I want to make sure that I never lose that art. And I think you and Mom, this is a great job at that.
Can I say one more thing, though,
Go ahead,
before
Pop.
we move on? I think that young parents don't put expectations. If you do put your kids in sports, do not expect them to be professional athletes. There's too much pressure. The reality is that they're not going to be. So let them
the
enjoy
percentages,
it.
There's data, there's percentages. It is extremely difficult.
I think it's less than 1%.
Yeah, they make it to the pros. Yep.
Yeah, so let them enjoy playing the sport. Enjoy watching them. Enjoy, hanging out with other parents and just everything that comes along with Little League sports. And I'll say this, if there's any fathers out there that are coaching, it's not about wins and losses at that level. Yeah. Okay? It's about
the Pee Wee
building
Championship,
character, showing young men how to be men, not about wins and losses. So.
Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap it up here in a little bit, but I want to have a couple more questions. What does success look like in fatherhood? What does success look like?
Well, that's a good one. I think for me personally is watching you. You started this thing that I'm your hero, but you're at the same time you're my hero. And I see the man that you are becoming, the father you're becoming, the husband. And I know that that God has the major hand in that in your life, but I know that I played a small role, and I think that's rewarding for any parent, just, I would tell you that I was proud of you, whether you were playing football and then getting an interception, or you were in the third grade play doing the itsy bitsy spider. The pride and the joy from both those things, as crazy as it sounds, is the same. Yeah. It's the same, So anytime your child is healthy, first of all, right? And is doing well, even if they're not doing well, it's because we can't be all doing well always, right? There's hills and valleys in life, So it's also watching your child in the valley, You can be proud of them too, and that could be successful. Seeing how they come out of it. Just seeing the way you and Lauren grow up, and what you're doing now, and same as Lauren, just being a parent, and being a good parent is so hard. Yeah. Because and especially today, again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but there's so many dynamics on young people today, on kids, on parents that they have to deal with. They're just things that it takes a lot to be a parent. It takes a lot of wisdom. It takes a lot of strength, and you know, and that's why, you know, I think without God, you know, it's I don't even know how you can do it.
Yep.
You know, without leaning on God and keeping your eyes focused on God and the Word, you know, for direction. So, but yeah, I mean, just for me, success is watching your sister, and again, you know, as I mentioned before, now getting an opportunity to pour into Manuel, Michael, and Melanie, you know. So, you know, and seeing what God does through them too. You know, it's just, for me, that's a blessing and another opportunity that, you know, that God has given me. So, to be the pastor of the house, to lead, you know, to influence, you know.
Yeah.
So, because again, you know, Jesus comes first, but our second ministry is our wives and our family. So, it's a big responsibility for us as men and as fathers.
Yep.
So,
yep. Who do you hope, or excuse me, what do you hope that your grandkids remember about you?
Man, that I loved them.
Yeah.
That I loved them, like, you know, like I loved their father and their mother. You know, I just want them to. Well, let me back up. That I love Jesus.
Yes.
First of all, and then that I love them. So.
Yeah, that's the best. And I think what you're talking about is the power of presence. And I think you did that so well. You were at every football game. You were at every taekwondo lesson. You were at every all these things. Even when I was away in college, you would try to make try almost every game. And I think it's just being there, the power of presence. It's the physical representation is powerful, because and I know everybody's life is different. I know everybody's situation is different, but it's like, I just, you know, even with Eden, I want to make sure that I'm just physically there. Like, she's about to do, in a couple of days, she's going to lead the chapel, the preschool chapel, in prayer. And it's not it's not a random prayer. It's like, it's a scripted prayer that she's memorized, and it's going to be like 20 seconds. But it's like, I want to make sure that she knows that her mom and dad are there, her grandparents are there. And I can't stress it enough. Like, my dad and my mom were incredible when it came to the power of presence. And that's, I think, this podcast is all about, is just all these things. If our goal is for our kids to know who Jesus is and to disciple them, I just think about Jesus and the disciples themselves. They were always together. And there was going to be a season, like, obviously, when I became an adult and I got married, where, you know, a man and a woman leave their mother and father. But until then, it's like, I want to be there. I want to walk with them. I want to be around them. And because I've seen what it looks like with my dad and my mom do it, and how much it's affected me. And so if we're going to disciple our kids, if we're going to disciple our families, presence is key. And I just can't stress that enough. All right, we'll wrap up with this, Pop. Dad to dad, thinking about all the guys watching this, what would you say to the father listening right now who feels overwhelmed? Feels like he's down and out, feels like he's not stepping up to the plate, just going through it.
Yeah, I would say join the club. You know?
Yeah.
You may feel that way, but you're not. You know, just the fact that you're in the game, you're being a father, and doing everything you can, you're not down and out. You know, you're being present in your child's life. And again, you may not have all the answers. You're not going to get it right all of the time, but celebrate the wins, you know, the stuff you do right, you know, and don't dwell on the negative, you know, that don't. You acknowledge the mistake. You don't sweep it under the rug, but then you take the next step. Mm-hmm. You correct it and you move on, and keep learning and keep taking a step forward, and just love on your children. You know, just love them and let them know that you're there for them, and then be there for them. Yeah. So,
well, thanks, Pop.
Yeah.
I love you. You're my hero. Uno reverse card. I'm your hero. No, you're my hero. because I learned from you, and I love you, and I love how you are with our grandkids, and I love watching football with you. And I love being around you. And so thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me here.
We'll do this again. We'll try. Yeah, we're gonna make it happen. And I'm excited for the future of this, and excited for everybody to watch this. If you've been following along with us, please subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rating, leave us a review. As always, we love you. So thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great time listening to this.